These three mistakes are why ambitious men struggle to get in shape despite being super disciplined in other areas of their life. So if you've tried it all and you still can't stay consistent, I'm going to break down which of these three mistakes you're likely going wrong with, as well as the practical solutions and the mindset shifts needed to accompany them to allow you to finally get on the right track and see the results that you want. If you're new here, hey, my name's Kev. I'm an online coach and I'm do exactly that. I coach ambitious guys who want to be at the top of their game in all areas of their life to basically educate them in fitness using elite science to optimize their approach, using a very personalized experience to make that fit around their lifestyle, to provide a custom solution that they know works for them. So the first mistake that is likely holding you back, kind of linked to that directly, is you're not focusing on the right things. You don't have the right plan and structure in place. Everyone has a little bit of a plan, but no one seems to have the results. It's very common for coaches to say like, well, you have no structure, you're just winging it, you don't know exactly what to do. And that's sometimes valid, but I dare take it a step further. Just having a little bit of structure and a bit of a plan in place still doesn't guarantee that you get what you're looking for. Fairly early doors, you want to be making decisions and adjustments to curate your plan based on the data, based on numbers, so you know exactly what's going wrong, what's going right, and it makes that entire process more predictable. If you're budgeting, you prefer to be using, actual numbers instead of just spend less, save more. It makes sense, right? So there's likely you focusing on the wrong things is kind of that underpinning factor for mistake number one. Now, there are a few reasons for this. Reason number one is that you're trying to run before you can walk. Now, either because you're quite high achieving in other areas of life, so you like to aim high, you've got standards, but the problem with that is it leaves you very prone to overwhelm. You need to actually build it up, make things low barrier, so you know exactly what those next actionable steps are, what's going to give you a good return for your investment. And the other thing is that sometimes we do that to actually fool ourselves into thinking that we're making progress. By focusing on the minutia, those tiny little details, we actually basically tell ourselves that, well, this is going to take us closer to progress. It fools you into thinking like you're doing something. But when you zoom out in those few weeks or months, you haven't actually got any tangible results for the effort that you've been putting in. So regardless of if it's a procrastination thing and you're just kind of fooling yourself, or if you're trying to run before you can walk, you need to focus on the things that are actually going to give you some return on your investment, that are going to be low-hanging fruits, that get you a lot of bang for buck. And this isn't going to be things like, intensifiers in your training, copying what the pro bodybuilders are doing. It makes sense because they have incredible physiques, but the thing is that it's not going to be personalized to a demanding lifestyle like the one that you've got. This is made for people who live and breathe fitness, who can train for hours and hours a day because they have nothing else going on. But you want something that's going to be a little bit more efficient. That's why with my guys, I use a huge kind of science focus with the training in particular, but the nutrition as well. But what really kind of stands out here with the training is that allows for that idea of efficiency. If we don't do all the fluff that isn't getting us good results, we just do the things that are going to move the needle in the right direction, then we don't need to do so much total work because we're just taking the bits of that actually give us the most bang for buck. So exercise selection, that's a really, really key one. Are you doing exercises that are actually going to give you a good return? Are they not easy, but do they have room to be progressively overloaded? Things like these leg days that take 3 hours, you want to tone up your legs, you want to build good strength, you do things like goblet squats. Once you get past the 50-kilo dumbbells, like how much weight are you going to be able to hold in front of you? It makes no sense. Pick exercises that will allow you to progressively overload, that are actually loadable, that actually target the right tissues, and those are going to be the limiting factor. Again, the idea of the, what did I call it? Goblet squats. The idea of goblet squats, it just doesn't make any sense to me because again, that limiting factor is going to be how much weight you can hold in front of you, not how much force you can produce through your quads. So that is going to be something that really kind of allows you to do less total work and actually get more results. And that means that you've, number one, got time for those other things in your life that you're focused on, your career, relationships, things like that. But also, because you don't need to be spending quite as long in the gym, it means that life no longer gets in the way. Now, what this actually is, if you dig deep down, it's what the real problem and mistake is here, is that you, again, it comes down to a couple of potentials. Now, from speaking to loads and loads of guys, what really is happening here is guys tend to get in their own way. The reason why they can't fix this structure issue, there's kind of like an example of something that you can do right now in the gym, but the overarching theme there is that we like to think that we can do things ourselves. Again, if you're the kind of ambitious guy that I work with, you're very capable, you know that already. In those other areas of life, you're crushing it, and oftentimes we think that therefore to take responsibility for our actions, we need to be able to solve everything ourselves. But the truth is that all those other areas of your life, you probably had a little bit of help along the way. You had people teaching you the most effective approaches to get you further. You've had, investments that you've made before, all in the attempt to actually fast track doing the right thing so that you can get to where you want to go. A lot of guys think that they can do it all themselves, but even the pros, even other coaches, even pro bodybuilders, we all have coaches because we want to actually refine what we do, make sure that we are actually doing the right thing, not focusing on the wrong thing. The right selection of coach is then going to make sure that that approach is aligned with you and your lifestyle, making sure that you have someone who gets it, who's been there, walked the walk, done the walk exactly in the way that you want to walk it. Again, there's no point having a coach who's going to give you a great training program, but it doesn't fit into your lifestyle. It means that you're still going to be doing the wrong thing. So the smartest thing that you can do is, if you are stuck, just ask for help. Just get some real good structure in place. Don't think that you can do it all yourself. Be willing to invest, because especially if you are overweight, you've gotten that call from the doctor. I always find it crazy that guys will, use these little apps and get random little workouts off of them for 20 quid a month or something like that. But you're effectively trying to solve $1 million problem for 20 quid, basically. So be smart, do the right thing instead of just wasting time, getting frustrated, and ultimately getting nowhere because you don't have the right structure in place. Now, problem number two, mistake number two, is education. This ties into the approach, but it's not very much a case of just doing the thing, because anyone can starve themselves for a few weeks, anyone can, get in shape once, but more so the problem isn't actually being able to get results. Maybe you've been able to drop a few pounds before, but you always end up regaining that same 10 kilos, 20 kilos, 30 kilos. You go up and down, you yo-yo. And that ultimately comes down to education. That comes down to education to the approach, because oftentimes if it's an overall approach that doesn't gel with your lifestyle, then never mind getting there, you're not going to be able to actually sustain that. Now, the cool thing is that this is not me saying like lose weight super, super slowly. My guys like to get, again, return on their investment. They like getting results. They like getting them quickly and efficiently. But it's more so that idea of like how aggressive is too aggressive, okay? My guys don't fuck about, and we've got nutritional strategies and interventions that we can put in place to manage hunger on a diet, manage cravings, so that we can dig a little bit more aggressively. What you don't want to do is basically be so focused on walking that line of balance that you make excuses and justify not getting closer to the goal. So many people diet for a year, 2 years, and they'll lose like, a pound every month. And obviously then it's going to take you forever to actually get the result that you're trying to achieve. So it's not about going super slowly. It's a mixture of these two things. It's number one, just simply not going so aggressive that it beats the crap out of you. Not doing hours and hours of cardio so you're super drained and fatigued, coupling that with super, super low calories and starving yourself. Ultimately, this is actually why a lot of guys actually hit a wall in their progress, because when your body is enduring that much stress, all these different stresses from different angles, that just accumulates in our overall allostatic load. That is a huge, huge burden to be recovering from. So there's that side of things. But more importantly, you do not have the actual structure to control your habits when you've finished that dieting phase. So I like with my clients to employ what we call phase planning, which is basically splitting the long-term journey. We think of fitness as a lifelong journey, and we split it into many different chapters. So this chapter is very much about getting off that 20 pounds, getting a bit healthier, getting the habits in play. Cool. Then we got to know how to actually maintain that good body composition, how to not rebound right back to square one, gain all the weight back, because around 90% of people, when they diet, will regain all the weight back, and oftentimes more than that, in the next year, which is a crazy, crazy stat. Excuse me, just having a drink of water. So you need to basically be able to get the diet done. You need to have the boundaries in play. You need the right systems to get the fat off you. And then you need to understand how you can relax the approach so that you're not super duper food focused, so you're not being super anal about fitness, but in a way that will actually still allow you to have enough structure in play without needing to basically think about it loads, and allow you to easily maintain that body composition. Those are like the first two essential phases, if you will, that pretty much all of my clients go through. Because not all of them want to be like super, super jacked. So I've got one client who will probably be finishing in the next couple of months because he's got a couple of weeks left in the deficit, and then I've got to teach him how to maintain that through this transition phase. And then he just likes doing home workouts. He just wants to be that little bit healthier, job done, he'll be off. If clients then want to focus on, building more strength, muscle, learning how to over time manipulate their training to especially focus on that longevity element, cool, bonus round. But if you need to get lean, lose weight, then you don't just need to know the real education behind doing that so you can do that on repeat, because you're going to need to diet more times in your life. The key to really maintaining a result, if you diet from, say, 100 kilos to 80 kilos, the idea isn't to maintain 80 kilos on the dot. The idea is to probably just never go back past that buffer point where north of that, you know that your health is at risk, you know that you don't feel good in how you look. It's having that kind of little bit of wiggle room. And when you do start to go past that again, instead of having that 20 kilos to diet off, maybe you only have another 5 to quickly lose in a few weeks, and you're in your kind of prime spot, ready for summer, what have you. So that is very much the way that I look at it. So it's about teaching my guys how to maintain that wiggle room. And you know that you've got the tools to then diet back down very efficiently based on how we drop the body fat in the first place, which I try to make a much more healthy way as well. We do focus on really a holistic approach to nutrition. We focus on a little bit of psychology, understanding, regulating our nervous system, really getting our body to work with us, fueling ourselves properly, no crazy starvation diets. Focus very much on not just macros, but actually the overall structure of our nutrition. My guys learn how to manage their nutrition rather than just, here's a calorie number, go hit this, and then when you're done, see you later. You want to know the ins and outs of how fitness works so that you never need another coach. When my guys invest with me, they know that they are investing in the last fitness approach that they're going to need, because the plan is personalized to every little detail, and therefore they are going to be sorted at the end of that. It's not just a 6-week challenge. They're not just starving themselves for a result for me to post on my Instagram page. Accountability is great, but at the same time, it's not a forever solution, because when that accountability leaves, if that's what you depend on to get the result, then you're immediately going to get back to square one. Then, mistake number 3. I actually can't remember the third one that I was going to bring up. But if I was going to say something, it's definitely going to be an overarching kind of mindset shift, which is identity. Now, this is super, super important. Now, this year I've been digging a lot more into identity, what that encompasses, and how that, more importantly, influences your habits. Because if you are crystal clear on who you want to be, that'll make it a million times easier to pinpoint what you need to do in order to get there. The reason that I bring that up is because habit change is obviously going to be a really key thing for making this a long-term lifestyle transformation. It's going to be something very, very different than the old you. If the old you is 100 kilos, it took you being a very different person to be at 100 kilos than the kind of person that's going to be chilling at around 80 kilos, okay? What that person does in their day-to-day life is going to be a bit different. And when you know what that person looks like, if you can imagine what your life looks like when you weigh 80 kilos, then you're probably going to realize that a lot of the things that you're doing right now just don't cut it. There does have to be that element of sacrifice. You probably can't get away with the 4 takeaways every single week after work when you've had a long day. You probably can't get away with binge drinking every single weekend, necking down the beers on Friday after work and on Saturday on a night out with your buddies. there will have to be a degree of sacrifice, but that all is to build you up to the person that you really want to be. That's the way that I look at it. So that is, of course, really important, identifying the habits. That's also a really key way of you being able to adhere to the process and think logically. Now, if we tie that in, and I suppose that makes mistake number 3, just not having a holistic approach, viewing fitness as just purely this training and nutrition thing, when there's actually a lot of psychology at play here. You know, I touched on the nervous system earlier. Another good example of that is that idea of, you know, psychology. A lot of guys in our position, high stress environments, will view food as more of a dopamine hit than actual fuel for our body in nutrition terms. And as a result of that, there's a lot of mindless eating, snacking, just subconscious decision making that we've normalized. If you've got kids, this is another one. You fill the house with snacks. Previously, it was a conscious decision. You walk past the cupboard once and, yeah, there's a biscuit in there, I shouldn't have it. You battle for 4 minutes and then you go get the biscuit. Then next time, instead of battling for 4 minutes, you battle for 2 minutes. And over time, that repeated behavior becomes just this subconscious thing that you don't even think about. Now, what you need to do in those situations is actually just pause long enough, be aware of, you know, especially if it's when you get home from work, this is a very, very common one. You'll probably notice that you are a little bit stressed. Your heart rate, if you put your hand to your neck, your heart rate's a little bit faster, you're probably breathing a little bit faster. Being able to identify these higher stress times where you're more likely to fall off track is then when you can actually pull yourself to reflect, zoom out a little bit, be mindful, think about the decisions that you are actually making. Is this a decision that serves you if you were to go raid the biscuits? Does that align with the kind of person that you want to become? Is that what they would be doing right now? If you can pull yourself out and just create that little bit of distance in terms of time from, you know, not even thinking about it, just automatically 0 seconds of thinking time to grabbing the biscuit, if you can now start to just pause just for that second, you are so much closer to being able to actually adhere to your diet, stay consistent. And again, that revolves around understanding how your nervous system works, understanding how stress works, understanding how habit formation works, understanding behavior change, understanding, again, identity. So if you don't have a very holistic approach in place, if you don't have a system that's actually going to transform your life more than just giving you a training and nutrition plan, then that ties in a little bit into the education side of things. You're going to be doomed to keep repeating the same mistakes. So to summarize, you need to be focusing on the right things that are going to move the needle in the right direction. That can sometimes be more simple than you think. Less can often be more if you do the right things. Number 2, you're going to need education. You're going to need education to get it done to the best of your abilities, because that encompasses, number 3, a very holistic approach. If you're traveling for business or things like that, you need a way to manage your nutrition on the go. That's going to be a super key one. You want a holistic approach that teaches you how to manage everything. You want education to make sure that those results last. I hope you guys enjoyed. Of course, if you are interested in working with me through a 5-star experience where I'll coach you one-to-one to build you up to the level that you need to be at, just DM me the word ready on Instagram or check the link below. And otherwise, hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, leave a rating, whatever you're listening to this on, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.